Customers with personalized and emotional connection to a business have more lifetime commitment value and are more likely to recommend their products to others. With digital transformation approaches, such as instant service, seamless omni-channel experience, and constant online availability, enterprises are now bringing their customers much closer. The modern consumers try multi-channel to interact with brands all along their customer journey using multiple devices today. The businesses are not just selling products and services. They have to cater to experiences that themselves not just tell a story, but also help create a positive image of the business. In this section, we are attempting to highlight how businesses can get a 360-degree perspective of each customer and have them involved in contextualized conversations for upgraded customer satisfaction and increased profitability. And with this, we have an esteemed set of speakers who will share insights on the same. So let's begin with our first speaker. A content marketing professional with several decades of experience in a leadership position, she is a specialist in content to commerce, customer search online, and omni-channel strategy to enhance user experience and engagement and drive revenue growth. Apart from being part of the founding team at Nykaa.com and building the entire content strategy for the brand, she has also worked at Lenskart and leading newspapers such as the Economic Times and Times of India. She's currently Director Customer Engagement at Enrich. So without further ado, please welcome as I invite Ms. Madhavi Irani. Thank you so much, ma'am, for joining in. Up next, she's the Chief Marketing Officer and Chairperson for D&I at Capgemini Technology Services India. She bears nearly 2 decades of rich and diverse industry experience with a rare combination of global marketing, sales, and corporate functions. She's also a Capgemini expert in corporate functions, frontline sales, and global marketing. Please welcome as I invite Ms. Sarika, Naik, please. Thank you so much, ma'am, for joining in. Up next, we have, most people know him as the Trivago brand ambassador, commonly referred the Trivago guy, in the punchline of social media memes. He is a marketer who prefers to use metrics-driven marketing, placing his bets on channels that can be measured. Currently, he is working as the VP Marketing with Paytm and looking after ATL, social media, post and digital video advertising. Please welcome Mr. Abhinav Kumar, please. Welcome, sir. Thank you very, very much for joining in.
Thank you. Thank you, Pooja.
Senior Director and Head Data Analytics and Campaigns at Hansa Cequity, Data Science and MarTech professional with experience in data science, advanced analytics, strategy, CRM, product development, and big data. He is instrumental in helping clients take informed decisions using descriptive, predictive, prescriptive, and advanced optimization. With a hearty welcome, let's invite Mr. Bharath Vaidyanathan, our session moderator for this session. Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, everybody, for joining in. Over to you, Mr.
Bharath. Thank you, Pooja. Hello, everyone. A warm welcome to all of you. Today's topic of discussion is Reimagine MarTech for digital customer experience. Over the last 2 years, it is fair to say that the pandemic has transformed the fundamental way we look at customer experience. Customer expectations have indeed skyrocketed. Digital transformation initiatives have accelerated across industries. It is imperative for marketeers today to arm themselves with the right tools and be on top of emerging trends. During the next 40 minutes or so, we will be addressing some very important questions, like what exactly constitutes a great customer experience today? How are companies evolving different business models to enrich customer experience? How should companies create the right ecosystem and select the right technology that helps providing a great customer experience? We will also talk about the role of leadership and culture within organizations, which could be a make or break for successful digital transformation initiatives. And finally, we will also touch upon how marketeers can measure the success of these initiatives. And to throw more light on this topic, we have an esteemed panel of speakers with a rich and diverse background. So let's get the ball rolling straight away. Customers today have a plethora of choices, right? They can interact with brands in different ways through multiple channels and through different devices. Having so many options is a double-edged sword, isn't it? Every possible interaction is an opportunity for brands to enrich the customer experience, but then that many chances for the ball getting dropped as well, right? So if I can start with you, Madhavi, in your view, what defines a great customer experience?
So, Bharath, I think the biggest challenge that online players today really face is replicating that offline experience online. How do you, in an online space, replicate that beauty advisor or that person behind the counter who could give you advice on which product was best for you? So while I think there's this plethora, as you said, of products online. There's no dearth of options. How do you decide what is right for you? And I think here customer experience plays the biggest role. And I'm a firm proponent, and I will only speak from the beauty space because that's been my expertise for the last 10 years. I think the biggest differentiator is guided selling formats. And so one of them, for example, is buying guides or specific stores which are occasion or festive based. Now, what does a guided selling format do? What does a buying guide do? You supposing you're looking for a product, an acne product. You have acne, you're looking for an acne product. You click on acne products. There are about 500 products that show up there. How do you decide which one is right for you? I mean, you are so confused. You're more confused after you've gotten to the site than you were before. So what a buying guide really does is break up that 500 products into tighter curated listings of, say, for example, acne face washes. Then another one of spot treatments, another one of global treatments, another one of oil-free sunscreens, another one of mattifying makeup. So you're making that entire purchase journey. You're helping a person build a regime, and also you're sort of giving them smaller curated listings to pick and choose from. So that's really what a guided selling format is. The other one is really creating a personalized blog. For example, if I'm reading a blog on, say, foundations, the next blogs that show up should be in the same category. Creating engaging, shoppable, snackable content. So I'm watching a video and then I can shop the products in that video. And then I think the biggest and the most powerful thing is creating a user-generated community. So people love to people have opinions. People love to share their ideas and their knowledge. And I think our social feeds are testament to the fact that people love to put content out there. And to me, I believe for a brand to build a UGC community is about converting a brand loyalist into a brand advocate. So if I tell you, Bharath, that this product is the best face wash for oily skin, you're far more likely to believe that than if a brand was to say that about itself. So I think those are some of the different things that we can do. But increasingly, I think in today's world, especially with this entire pandemic, which continues to rage, I think people are turning more and more to socially responsible brands that they can trust, brands that ethically source their ingredients, that believe in conscious and green, clean alternatives. And brands that care not just for their customers, but for their employees, for the community at large. So clearly, conscious brands are sort of making a conscious aggregators as well as verticals are making a bigger play. And then I think ultimately, even though malls have reopened, people are out there shopping, I think increasingly people are looking for low touch, at home, digital options to make the best purchase decisions. So I'm talking about, AI inspired skin analysis tools. I'm talking about virtual try-ons, whether it's for fashion, whether it's for beauty and so on. I think those are really going to be the way forward. And I think largely offline players are trying to become online players. They're scrambling to do it. Some of them are doing a good job, some of them are not. And I think online players are trying to become as immersive and as experiential as they can to get the right people to come and visit.
Yeah, thanks for the insights, Madhavi. Very useful points on guided selling, virtual try-ons, and how we can cut through information overload and provide relevant information. Being socially responsible and trust is also becoming a very important factor, and understandably so in these tough times. It's fair to say that the pandemic has forced a lot of brands to revisit the fundamental way they engage with customers. Many organizations probably had digital transformation already in their roadmap. And for many, the pandemic has just hastened the process, right? Going to Sarika, in a post-pandemic world, how do you see customer experience evolving?
Thank you, Bharath. And, lovely examples from Madhavi. In fact, if you were just to shut your eye, the examples she gave of breaking down the entire journey into, guided selling guides is nothing but what we used to experience when we used to go into a store, right? So when you go into a store, the salesperson would ask you, what are you looking for? What kind of skin do you have? Do you have any issues, and then would narrow in and bring you to the product which is rightly suited for you. So, in a post-pandemic world, when it's the writing is all over the wall. We are never ever going to go back to 100% being in stores. Neither are we going to be 100% always, virtual. So, the world that is always going to be hybrid going forward has to have a customer experience which seamlessly blends from the virtual to the physical and back to the virtual. So it's not just one direction. It would navigate, from one section to the other. If we were to look at it, earlier customer experience was always looked at from a technology side or the tech side, tech lens. That was, prior to COVID. But today, when we are talking to customers, as Capgemini, we support a lot of our global customers in their digital transformation journey. What we are seeing is that the customers are asking for a holistic experience. So what do we mean by that? What's the big word? So what it really means is that starting from brand awareness, who are you? What do you stand for? And a lot about, Madhavi also mentioned being socially responsible, trust. So what does your brand stand for? How do you market your brand? Right up to customer service and a single view of the customer. If you look at all of this together, laced around with emotional connect, these are the ones which are going to be defining a true customer experience. So hyper personalization today, I would just like to give you an example, which, it's not one of the best examples really from a superior customer experience, but just to give you how it can actually be broken down. Recently we were looking for a furniture purchase, and there was this very prominent brand which is advertised, which is known as a leader in the category. I saw the ads come up on my feed because I've been searching some of this online. I saw the next day that it was advertised in print, and I thought, well, this is God telling me that it's time to make the purchase. We called up the store and we said, hey, can we come and check this out? There's this ad which has come, and they said, yes, please come over. We traveled the distance, and when we reached there, lo and behold, what we were told is that the product per se that was advertised, none of the salespeople had any clue whatsoever about the ad that had featured. Luckily, I had carried the the news clipping, and I said, "Hey, this is the clipping I'm referring to." And I called you and I asked you whether this is on display. And they said, "Well, that is our customer care center, and that does not feed in back here." So actually, if you ask me, that's a clear example of how a physical and a digital actually broke completely for me, and for a brand that is a brand leader. So if we were to look at it in a post-pandemic world, I would say a rich customer experience. You can have all the tools you want, you can have all the connections you want, but if you're not going to be able to tie them together for the customer, so the customer feels that you're only talking to me and you understand only me for my requirement, that's going to be the recipe for success. Just one more point there, Bharath, and again, building from Madhavi's point there, she spoke about being brand advocates. Actually, that's going to be the key focus for all marketers going forward. So, it doesn't matter. I can shout from the rooftops and say we are the best and, we are the leaders, etc. But if my customers don't experience it and they do not talk in the same tone and language, it's just pure marketing. So I would say in the post-COVID era, all the more the voice of your customers in terms of what they are speaking and how they are influencing the rest of the customers will become very, very critical for a superior customer experience.
Absolutely. Thanks for those insights, Sarika. I think very important points. Hybrid model is an imperative, and how we can seamlessly blend the physical and virtual worlds. And as you rightly said, still a long way to go for the full seamless integration and tie things together seamlessly. Plus, the point I liked was on how we can blend data plus emotional connect. Yeah. Traditionally, life was simple in the offline world, isn't it? A consumer went to a physical shop, you asked the shopkeeper, and then purchased an item. Today's consumers are not tied to a single channel. They browse through apps, shop online, share feedback on social media networks, and different brands are trying to respond to the situation by evolving their own business models. Some are moving from a single channel to having a multi-channel offering. Some brands which were already mature are trying to integrate their offerings across these channels to provide a connected customer omni-channel experience. So Abhinav, if I can come to you, how do you see these models evolving? And in your view, what are the factors that brands need to keep in mind for evolving these models?
So thank you, Bharath, for the question. So as we see the audience we are addressing right now, this audience is very much, and like from the past, it has evolved a lot, the way we do our shopping and the way we make our choices. So one of the most important thing is that before we make a selection, now the touch points have increased a lot. Not just offline and online touch points, but even on online, there are multiple touch points, right? From watching a video to reading a review. So the customer is evolving. And as a marketer, I feel that you should be all along the user journey. So you have to see all the touch points where it's how this whole decision-making process is being made. And then you go and feed in all your content wherever is possible. So go and touch into all the touch points. So we're taking some points from Madhavi and Sarika, that how some offline stores, how they have adapted to online. So this is more like a reaction which came because of pandemic. So people went from single channel to multiple channels. They didn't feel, they said, okay, we have to be present here, we have to be present there. And they went on adopting multiple channels and it became multiple. But then now going back again to Sarika's point, that why we have to be there, we have to choose the omni channel, because the messaging has to be uniform. So we have to also see that if we are choosing different channels, we have to figure out different customer cohort, and we have to look them where they are in their journey. And then we have to aid it in every step of journey. There is a different kind of a content or a knowledge would be needed to needed to convert those users. And so like if I give you an example, so I come from more from a payment background right now. And so we see how we use coupons, which can be used maybe as you do a purchase, you get something to use it. You can use it on an offline store, or you can use it on an online store. So these kind of things binds the customers in the user journey. So you have to give one information that no matter where you go, you will be served with the information which you were provided. And so it is very important to segregate these users in their user journeys. How and what are the building blocks, like how we will go on building on top of this. Too much of data is available because we have so much of online footprints, and so that data can be taken into, so if we have a data analytical team within the company, and we grow on the data, not just the external data which a survey company or a third party agencies gives us. There is too much of data within our system also. And so every company needs to give more priority to their own data than just looking outside and looking to their competition. So this is one of the things. So build a data lake and a data analytic team within your company. Do more contextual based targeting. So once you know the consumer journey, your own user, how they're coming to the app, how they're interacting, do more contextual targeting. Make sure you're covering all the channels where the user is going, like let's say buying a cell phone. So where you go to see a review, or where you go to see the features. So do that, and then make sure you are able to even record their experiences. So whatever you are doing, there is always a way that you can perfect it more. So there is an ongoing, and it will be ever learning process, because then we go on changing, and then we have to take the reviews of the user and try to implement those in the coming, maybe it can be also used for your later marketing tech requirements. So you also have to take a review. So these are some of the things which I feel that from omni-channel to multi-channel, from single channel to multi to omni, it will come. And then the last point I want to say that if our audiences are omnipresent, then our marketing should be also omnipresent, and it should be always there to assist them to make their decision.
Absolutely. Excellent points, Abhinav. I think you hit the nail on its head. So what happened over the last 2 years is many brands moved from a single channel to opening different channels and giving multiple different features, facilities to clients. But then now they need to ensure that the data across these channels is integrated seamlessly to provide a connected customer experience. Abhinav made a point on customer journey. Let's look at that in slightly more detail. At the heart of customer experience is understanding the customer journey. Customer journeys today don't have a fixed start point or an end point, right? And what we normally try to do is make sense of the customer journey by looking at it in a very linear, structured way. Awareness, then consideration, then there's a trial stage, purchase, and post-purchase, and so on. In reality, it's much more convoluted than that, isn't it? Because different customers could take completely different paths to purchase. The level of involvement could also vary across these stages. So Madhavi, if I can come to you on this, how can brands gear up for the challenge and enrich these experiences across different stages of the journey?
So I think, you know, there is such a glut of brands online today. I mean, we've seen, you know, hundreds of D2C brands sort of emerge. We've seen verticals emerge. We've seen horizontals emerge. And, you know, getting customer loyalty is pretty tough today. I mean, I was reading a report which said that 50% of customers will switch brands in an instant if they have a bad customer journey or if someone else offers a better one. So I think really personalization is the way forward. That's the only way to ensure that people keep returning to your site. Now, the fact is that all e-commerce players are throwing up enormous amounts of data all the time. But the mistake that many of them make is viewing customers as cohorts rather than as individuals. I think what gets lost in an online space is you as a person, as an individual. So if you were to show me discounts relevant to the products or services that I purchase, if you were to throw up for me recommendations based on what is sitting in my cart or what I've been viewing, if you are, you know, remembering my history and showing me recommendations the next time I come back based on what I searched the last time, if you talk to me in my native language, because I truly believe that the swathe of people coming online today are all from tier 2 and tier 3 towns, and they need that sense of, you know, belonging and acceptance online, because it's very easy to get intimidated by this English-only site. If you send me personalized emails, I think these are great ways in building that customer delight and loyalty. Another way is to cross-sell and upsell to me in a very meaningful way. So what I detest most about you know, most e-commerce platforms is when you're on a PDP page, they're just showing you scrollable widgets of, you know, people also viewed or customers also purchased or top trending products on our site. That's not really relevant to me. So if I am, for example, on a foundation page, show me, for example, primers to go with it. Show me a concealer in the same shade. Show me a compact in the same shade. I'm much more likely to purchase that than, you know, what other people were viewing. I'm really not interested in what others were doing. The other big thing is looking at abandoned cart data. You know, the thing is 90% of carts across industries are abandoned carts. Now, deep diving into what is causing abandoned carts on your platform. Could it be that people don't perceive the products that you sell as genuine? Could it be that your returns policies are not satisfactory? Could it be that you're not offering enough payment gateway options? There could be multiple reasons for these abandoned carts. And if you were to fix them on your platform, I think they would go a huge way in getting people to come back to you. And lastly, I think because there is such a huge, impetus on social media and everyone's on social media, allowing people to shop within social media platforms and creating those shoppable formats within your social media, which look like social media feeds. For example, Myntra's done it, Naik has done it, a bunch of brands have done it, where you allow people to curate content based on their interests, and then that's the kind of content that keeps showing up to you, which is all shoppable. I think that will just help both drive up revenue, build affinity to your site, increase the time people are spending on your platform. I think they're just some of the things that we can do.
Yeah, thanks for the insights, Madhavi. Great point on instead of treating customers as cohorts and moving to one-to-one and treating each of them as individuals. I like that point. Which brings me to the next point on this. Every interaction the customer has with the brand is also an opportunity for brands to know a little more about that customer as an individual, right? And brands to try to collect more data about these customers during these interactions and leverage them to understand more about their buying behavior, pain points, and so on. So, Sarika, how can brands leverage data during these interactions and provide a customized engagement? And we often talk about hyper-personalization, that is true one-to-one and treating each customer as an individual. Is hyper-personalization a wish list, or is it truly achievable at scale when we are talking about millions of customers?
So, firstly, the way I look at this is that there have always been enough tools, and technology has never been a limitation. And, we are a technology company, so I can tell you there are enough tools to map the entire customer journey and to infuse data at each of these levels. So, in fact, there is so much of, options available that there is confusion on which technology to use. So personalization at scale is not a problem, but what is important is what is the right customer data for the desired outcome. And actually, Madhavi's example really called that out. So when you look at the data of the, abandoned carts, that should help you know what are some of the reasons why people are not, staying or finishing the entire, sales process. So the issue really is not about the technologies. The issue is what are the desired outcomes? What is your brand strategy? What is it that you're looking at to wow your customers so that you are able to build at scale? The other thing which I would like to highlight is a few trends, and that should help us realize that what kind of technologies and what kind of initiatives does one need to take to make sure that there is hyper personalization. First, very clearly, the generation now is they want it now. Everything at all is at the click of a finger at an instant, which means all the data in the backends needs to talk to each other seamlessly. This was mentioned by Abhinav and even Madhavi that, your profiling of when you visited earlier, what were the things that you looked at? All of that, your demographic profile, all should be available at the click of a button, and they want a response now. The second thing which is very critical is that, and Abhinav referred to that, right? It's a seamless omni-channel experience. They are not looking at saying that, hey, I visited the store once and this is where I went on my online site and this is where I stopped. In fact, we are now calling it not a phygital world, we are calling it a digital world, which means that people first check you out on the digital world and then they come to you on the physical world. So your hyper personalization that you factor for through the various technologies should be able to take care of that. The third thing that we are really seeing a big trend is that people are looking at messaging and mobile first conversations. Again, Madhavi mentioned this, that is there a way that you can make shopping possible through your social feeds itself? And that's another reality that is being seen by us, that 68% of WhatsApp users, they believe that it's the most convenient way to engage with a brand. And frankly, WhatsApp is not even a recognized, or should I say, an official platform for many of the brands, especially on the technology side. Lastly, we are seeing that experiences move from automation to prediction. Again, earlier we were using a lot of this to predict, so that, you can personalize the, you would automate it so that, there is a chatbot will respond to you, etc. But when you're talking about personalization, it's the ability to think ahead and realize what is it basis my history, what is it basis my past experiences that I'm going to ask for, right? And that predictive behavior is what is going to help us look at personalization. Frankly, coming from a technology company, we rarely see technology as a challenge. We see that technology is always an enabler. It's actually the focus should be on what is the business outcome and how do you tie in the entire brand experience with that.
Absolutely, absolutely, Sarika. Very important points on hyper-personalization and how it requires multiple things to come together, starting from strategy. Technology will, of course, as you rightly said, will always play the role of an enabler. Brands need to create an entire MarTech ecosystem, right? Starting from strategy to data to technology, maybe data science, algorithms, digital tools that is capable of hyper-personalization to provide customer experience on a repeatable basis. And now that brings us to one of the very important decisions a lot of marketeers deal with. How do you go about the process of selecting the right MarTech stack? And it's a big decision for marketeers. Let me get Abhinav's views on this. Abhinav, there are so many moving parts in this decision. Brands need a customer single view to capture a 360-degree view of the customer across all interactions. You need a strong automation platform. You need to leverage advanced data science to build recommendation engines. You need digital initiatives, content creations. Moreover, different organizations are at different stages of MarTech maturity. How should marketeers go about this?
So first of all, before choosing any of these technologies, first you need to really understand and frame your problem statement. So what exactly you want to address, you have to make sure, because most of the time what we keep doing is that we keep on changing the problem question and then choosing these platforms, and then we are stuck with multiple platforms and broken data everywhere, and we don't know how to club that data to get something useful out of it. So we really need to understand what we are trying to solve. There are already multiple things available in the market. So I would start with, let's say, advertising data. So you are spending and you have already spent a huge amount of data, let's say on the biggest search engine and how they deliver the video advertisement on their video channel. So there are many places that data is available, how a user has reacted on your platform or how they travel from a different platform or how they landed to your platform. So the advertising data, so all your search data, then you also need to understand companies like marketing attribution companies like AppsFlyer or Firebase, how your apps being installed, what are the journey people are bringing in, how the data which comes in with the journey of the people landing to your platform. And so in our case, we try to understand how these users came in and how we can associate some kind of data to one user. So to understand that, okay, we are sure that this amount of data can be attributed to this user and we are completely confident about it. And then you start framing that what is the issue with this problem and then what is the issue, and then you start implementing new tools to it. So first, it is very important to understand your problem statement. Second, get your own advertising data in your place. Then the third thing comes customer experience and engagement platforms. So you have already tools which will take on this data, which will look at each individual customer's journey, and then you can make rule-based engagement or targeting. So if one customer was doing something similar, or maybe he was doing something, go and tell him exactly how he can proceed to the next step if he's stuck somewhere. And so you have many of these tools like CleverTap and things where they do more automated kind of stuff where they will reach out to your user on different steps. In terms of pros and cons, as Sarika already said, with technology, we are still learning. I don't see any cons here, not a lot of cons here, but pros are very high because we can see that many of these platforms, they are highly scalable. You can bring in data and they can, on the cloud-based processing, they can take a decision at the right moment. Like you don't have to process the data and then do something next day. These platforms are capable of collecting data and react in next 15 minutes. If you were trying to buy something and if you just abandon your cart, there are platforms, they will just catch you as you go to the next platform. So you have to be careful that you know the right amount of, the user you have and how you can target them in their journey. So I don't see many cons coming in, but then just the concern is that when you get data from different channels, you also have to see that do you need to make your own technology where you can bring in all this data and keep it, because some of the bigger players, they don't want to share data. Like there will be a big Indian streaming company, they will not give you all the data which a global streaming company gives you. And so you need to understand, if you collect these data, so this is the only thing where I see a bit of con, where bigger platforms will not allow you to merge the data and try to bring out something from it. But rest, I see all pros in it. Yeah.
So, Bharath, I would like to just jump in here and agree with Abhinav. I think one is, of course, the whole data privacy and the whole GDPR stuff is, something which needs to be looked at. What's very interesting is, and he actually mentioned in his reference, today there are tools that, depending on, how fast I'm tapping, let's say if I'm seeing something on my, iPad and I'm reading something and, how fast I'm tapping and, flicking the side, it actually will decide whether my interest levels, and hence it will throw content next, such that it is either longer or a shorter read depending on the urgency with which I was tapping. Now, there have been some questions raised whether is that the ethical way to do marketing. I know that today is not the day to discuss that, but frankly, I also don't see any cons except the fact that we should, as marketers, we are socially responsible to make sure that the data that we use is used in the right way. But
absolutely. The hyper personalization versus privacy, that trade-off is of course a much bigger discussion.
Just one small point to add as well. Yes. So even just looking at these tools, so what I'm doing personally with my team, that it is not just about media buying and maybe buying online inventory or something. I am getting them into maths as well. So there are people in my team who will use R, who will plot data on Python. And so this was mostly done in the tech part, but I feel that equally we can use these tools and enhance the way we do marketing.
Absolutely, absolutely, Abhinav. In fact, many companies fall for the shiny object syndrome, right? Where they go and purchase a technology without understanding the business problem. So always start with the business problem and then find the right set of tools to leverage to solve that specific business problem. Absolutely. We talked about how technology can be a key enabler, which leads me to another important aspect of digital transformation. Often one of the less talked about aspects of these initiatives is creating the right company culture. And this includes both the leadership focus as well as getting the people ready. And no one better to handle this question than Sarika. Sarika, a digital transformation project requires a completely diverse set of people to come together. There are hardcore left-brained technologists who come from a particular background. You also have the right-brained creatives. How do you get all these people ready for digital transformation, and what is the role of leadership in these projects?
So thanks, Bharath. And the good news is that digital transformation is that transformation which requires the whole gamut, the left brain, the right brain, and all of those who have the center brain as well, intact. So clearly, I think there's a clear recognition, there is a clear realization among all, leadership and, through the ranks, that to survive and to succeed, digital transformation is a must. It's no longer a nice to have. So when we support our clients, a lot of the, and business is booming for us, as you know, on the technology side. It's also because a lot of the other spends which were kept for, digital, we will go when the need arises. it's all been pushed forward with a clear realization that if they are not focusing on customer experiences from a digital and a physical way together, then they will cease to exist, right? So that's the first realization. Leadership, of course, plays a very, very significant part in the overall digital transformation journey for 2-3 reasons. The first reason is to make sure that everybody aligns and understands that it's an imperative, right? It's not the job of the marketing team or not just the CMO or not just the business guy. It is the responsibility starting from the from the legal to the operations to the sales to the product development. All are involved and all have a role to play. So it is one of those transformation initiatives where change has to be implemented through and through all ranks. Second is also a little long-term kind of a view. And, sometimes, when we are in our quarter sales and quarter numbers and then the yearly numbers, that vision sometimes can get blurred. So leadership's role to make sure that we understand that, today, what you are embarking on the journey, tomorrow you'll be actually reconfiguring some of those tools, relooking at that data so that you continue on the journey. Some of the things that, Madhavi and Abhinav alluded to in terms of, possibilities today, they were not even being discussed 6 months back. So today, and tomorrow when people are going to sit back and chart the year ahead, they will have to look at the horizon, like Madhavi mentioned, no touch or low touch forever, and we've done some research from our Capgemini Research Institute that most of the customers have said that even after the pandemic, they would like to remain on the no touch side. Second, they would want to remain with those organizations that are more socially conscious. So, making sure that your entire digital plan is resting on very strong pillars and the values of the organization is clearly the charter of the leadership. Last but not the least, not very often talked about nowadays, they have to put the money where it's worth. So make sure that we invest in that, though that's not really a problem we are facing today. But, that's another thing, that it's a journey. So it's not an investment for a year. You'll have to make sure that it is continued through the days ahead. Many such journeys are fraught with some drawbacks or sometimes initial failures. So I think leadership's role to make sure that those initial glitches are not held as penalized to the team that is taking it forward. I think that would sum up the overall role of the leadership. And I must say that with most of our clients who've gone significant distance on their digital transformation, we have a lot of them on the retail side, we have a lot of them on the clothing and apparel side as well. All of those journeys have been led directly by the leadership. In fact, the CEO himself or herself in most cases. So cannot undermine the role of the leadership here.
Absolutely, Sarika. Now we talked about technology. We have the technology ready. We have the people ready. But the final proof of the pudding is in the eating, right? At the end, consumers need to see visible change. And brands also need to benefit from these initiatives. So coming to you, Madhavi, how do you measure the success of these initiatives?
So, I mean, obviously revenue is the biggest driver in the e-commerce space. So, obviously having data tracking on every single property that you have on the in the online space. So, I'm talking about every single tile, every single banner. Measuring the clicks on each of these, measuring the add to bags, measuring the average basket values. But as a content marketer, I would go a little further beyond that, and I would say, look beyond average basket value, look at direct conversions, look at assisted conversions. And, I believe that, I think Abhinav also mentioned it, that there are so many touch points for a customer. And I will give you an example of a online only brand that we launched many years ago. And when we looked at the data of this, it was a pretty expensive brand. 80% of all sales for this brand online had happened after someone had visited some content piece about that brand. It was a video, it was an article, it was a social media post before they purchased the brand. So I think you need to look at both direct and assisted conversions. And I also believe that you need to look at, the average session durations, the number of pages visited in each visit, the frequency of visits. I mean, all those things really are metrics to measuring, the success of whatever you're doing, whether it's working or it's not working.
Thanks for the insights, Madhavi. A final word from you, Abhinav. Abhinav, in reality, many of these MarTech initiatives may take some time to yield results, right? So what should be the right way of measuring ROI from MarTech, both from a short-term as well as a long-term perspective?
See, it will also depend industry wise. Like it is not like there would be one set of outcome or measurable stuff which can be valid for everyone. So we should surely look into the CSAT score or NPS or customer effort score. Like so, what exactly went through, how he went through, and he bought it. In our case, we also look into the usual metrics like MAU or customer reactivation or customer retention rate, customer referral rate. So your NPS and customer referral rate, because then you need less of marketing. If you can really get a good promoter score, then these people will go ahead and recommend your product. So these are some of the things which we look into it. But it will also depend industry to industry. They can have a different parameters to measure these outcomes. We can also look into the average resolution time. So what is happening in the customer care? So if they came back to us, did we resolve the issue quickly, or we have to improve on those also? And these are also connected in backend because we are looking into these data. And then we want to see that if it really delivering an outcome. But again, we cannot just start implementing and start looking at the data from next day. We have to give it a 3-month or a 6-month period. And then we compare before we implemented these techs to our marketing stack and what happened 6 months later, or what is the progression? Is there just a spike or it is a gradual increase? And then we can figure out which one is working for you or for anyone, and then they can decide that we can go ahead and scale those channels and reap the benefit from the users.
Thanks, Abhinav. A great customer experience is not an option for brands anymore. It's an absolute business imperative. Start from the strategy. Remember that technology is just an enabler and cannot compensate for good strategy. Make digital more human. These are some of the points that we discussed. In many ways, it reminds me of solving a complex jigsaw puzzle where different pieces need to come together seamlessly, right? This entire process of digital transformation requires the seamless integration of so many diverse things: strategy, leadership, data, analytics, digital, and of course, technology. It's been an absolute pleasure being a part of this panel discussion along with all the esteemed speakers. Thank you, Madhavi, Sarika, and Abhinav. Hope all of you enjoyed it. Thank you. Over to you, Pooja.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Abhinav.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
It was actually wow, and a big thank you for all your insights and learnings and such pertinent examples on such an important topic. We've always heard a very important phrase all our lives, and that technology is a boon or a bane. I think the kind of situation that we've been forced into, it has definitely proved to be a boon. But an important question that was answered in today's discussion was that how does brands maintain a balance between the traditional part of advertising, whether it's the customer going and picking up things from the store, and vis-a-vis sitting at home and having so many options and picking one of them. And like Ms. Sarika also mentioned, that the emotional connect and how creative a brand can be is going to determine the entire success of the brand and how the consumers will develop that kind of trust. So I think that is the important question that was answered. Thank you very, very much to each one of you, Ms. Madhavi, Ms. Sarika, Mr. Abhinav, and of course our session moderator. I think he was absolutely very candid. Thank you so much, Mr. Bharath, for doing this, and thank you to each one of you. Please stay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. It was a pleasure.